champion and what that means and how does that work. Because a lot of people send me DMs on my Instagram talking about what does that mean, how to explain it to us. So I'm going to take this time today and try to explain to you exactly what the franchise champion means and title. So we're starting off with the WBC, Mauricio Sulaiman. The WBC is the #1 coveted belt in the world. Everybody wants that. It's the green belt, the green and gold belt. But what happens as of late, they keep adding new dimensions to the WBC. They keep giving new belts, adding new franchises. Now, growth is nothing wrong with growth, but when you overdo it, then it becomes saturated and it doesn't have the same appeal as you would think it should. So, Lomachenko and Canelo, two amazing fighters. Both went through various weight classes to dominate. They went through different weight classes, they beat the top guys, and they became champions. To celebrate them and their feats going up and down in weight, Mauricio Sulaiman, the president of the WBC, decided that he was going to award these guys or upgrade them to the franchise status. This became controversial because a lot of people didn't understand what was the need for it. Because it changes the dynamic of the fight game, and I'll explain to you why. The reason why a lot of people were confused is because, for example, Devin Haney was elevated to the regular champion at the 135-pound weight class, which is the former champion Lomachenko's weight. He had the WBC regular championship. Devin Haney was the Intercontinental or something like that, the silver belt. After they decided to upgrade Lomachenko to the franchise champion status, Devin Haney was then upgraded to the regular belt. Now, what makes this a little bit different and difficult is that Teofimo Lopez, when he fought Devin Haney, when he fought Lomachenko, he negotiated to have the franchise title as a part of his belt collection. But here's where it gets funky. The original inception of that belt meant that the franchise holder of that belt, whoever held that belt, did not have to fight their mandatories. They don't have to fight their mandatories. And the distinction of franchise champion was never supposed to be defended or lost. But they made an exception in this fight with the Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko fight. They made that distinction, and so now here's where it becomes confusing. Lomachenko loses to Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez is technically the undisputed champion at 135. But how could that be if Devin Haney is still recognized as the regular champion at 135? Now, this is why everybody is so confused. I'll try to explain it. I contacted the WBC and I asked them to give me a little bit of clarity on what that means. Who's the real franchise champion? Who is the undisputed champion? And who's the regular champion? Their response to me was the president is going to come out making a formal announcement soon. That was about 3 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything from him. Okay, fine. So using intelligence guided by experience, I make my own deductions. I came up and I realized, okay, outside of the money grab, I understand why the WBC is doing it. I know it's a way to make more money. They charge, and for all you that don't know, each belt that's held by a champion, they have to pay a sanctioning fee to the governing bodies. The governing body in this case is the WBC. Whichever belt that a fighter fights for, there's a fee associated with maintaining that status because it's technically a quid pro quo. If you have championship status, you can demand more money. So you shouldn't have a problem with paying the sanctioning fees. That's what's confusing to a lot of people. So the WBC, in my estimation, is using greed. They're using greed and they're using their power and they're making a power play towards the divisions. They're introducing these carrots as the franchise champion to the fighters. Now, again, Lomachenko, when it was introduced to him, he went out publicly and said, no, I didn't ever ask for that. I didn't want it. I don't know what it was. But because they gave it to me, I was honored to accept it because I understand what it represents. And anybody in their right mind would have taken that belt because they understood what it is. And it's just a small percentage, 3% of their purse. So whatever that works out to be, that's fine. So now, for him, he didn't lose anything because he was already paying the sanctioning fee for the regular belt. What the WBC did was double dip. And they said, okay, we can get more money for this 3% if we give Devin Haney the regular belt and boost him up. So they didn't lose anything, they gained something. That's how you do business. It's pretty smart, I get it. But the confusion is now you have a undisputed champion in Lomachenko. No, formerly Lomachenko, now Teofimo. But is he really the undisputed champion if you have another guy who has the same belt? How is that possible? How does that work? We need answers. I need answers. But technically the way it was spelled out initially, it was Lomachenko and Canelo, franchise champions. Those guys had the distinction of fighting who they wanted when they wanted. They did not have to defend the franchise title. They did not have to fight a mandatory. None of those things was never necessary. But again, it changed once Teofimo said, I want to negotiate, I want to compete, I want everything that this man has. They agreed to it, Lomachenko and his group, Top Rank and his group, they agreed to it because they had no idea that Lomachenko was going to lose to Teofimo. So now things changed. Now they have to answer these questions. Now they have to come up with the right answer. Who is the franchise champion? Because they both can't be. They both can't be a champion and a franchise champion. You get either one or the other. You're either pregnant or you're not. You can't be a little bit pregnant. So the thing is, Devin Haney technically did not fight for the belt. He was elevated to that belt. But he went out and he defended his title against Gamboa recently, last Saturday, which raised a lot of questions in my mind because I'm trying to understand, how does Gamboa, who just was beat and technically defeated, really beat by Gervonta Davis, and his last fight gets another shot at the WBC championship title after losing his fight. That is another story, a story for another day. But I will say, it's interesting to me that the WBC moves this way. They send out signals and then they take them back. I just don't understand, because Javier Fortuna was next in line to fight for the WBC champion. Now, in all fairness, Javier Fortuna was supposed to be fighting Jorge Linares, but Jorge Linares tested positive, but Javier Fortuna didn't. So when that fight fell out, technically he should have got first dibs at Devin Haney for the WBC 135 belt, the regular belt, but that didn't happen. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. And it raises a lot of questions on why wasn't Javier Fortuna picked? Why was he overlooked? Why was Devin Haney elevated? Why wasn't he the next in line for Devin Haney's title? Why was Devin Haney able to pick Gamboa? All these questions need answering. I really can't understand it, but I do know a lot about the franchise champion. And what that is another way to make money. It's another way for the WBC to capitalize off their popularity, off of their statute and as a sanctioning body. It's not fair. It's not fair to the guys that pay their dues, that play by the rules, that go to the gym, give it their all, and be overlooked by somebody else because of a name. That's not fair. It's the politics of boxing, but it's just not fair. So, to sum it up, in summary, the WBC organizes and get this big belt. They come up with this big title, a franchise title. They actually made a belt for it too. So you get handed, when a fighter wins, like when Teofimo beat Lomachenko, they handed him the franchise champion belt. But he doesn't have the regular belt, the WBC featherweight regular belt. So technically that would be the big brother to the little brother. But it's not. It's not the big brother to the little brother because he doesn't have both belts. Devin Haney has the regular belt and Teofimo has the franchise champion belt. It's really mind-boggling to me, and I don't understand why this happens. But boxing sucks when it does. It's never good. So now we go to the Devin Haney fight and the Gamboa fight. Devin Haney is the champion. But had he lost to Gamboa, Gamboa would have been a featherweight champion. So we would have still been debating who's the real undisputed champion at 135. We need answers because as the boxing public, boxing connoisseurs, if we don't understand, how is it that Mauricio Sulaiman can go out and be so proud about advertising a franchise champion? Because we don't understand. I still don't understand. And I heard him on the Akin Barak show, which is a great show, great guys. But they let him off the hook. He gave this really political answer when they asked him the question, who is the champion? He started talking about how much money Devin Haney makes and so forth. That's not the answer. The answer is, how is it that you have two champions in one weight division? All the belts do it. But how do you have two champions in one weight division and we don't know who is the real champion? That's why Undisputed is such a big thing. Everybody wants that one guy, one face, one name of a division because it makes boxing exciting. If you can go do one-stop shopping, which is what Teofimo did. He came, he beat Lomachenko, he took all the belts. And he should be the undisputed champion without dispute. But unfortunately, he's not because Devin Haney holds a version of that title. I don't know if that fight will ever be made with Devin Haney and Lomachenko or Devin Haney and Teofimo, because I think Teofimo needs to move up to 140. Devin Haney needs to campaign at 135, defend his titles. But I think once Teofimo moves up to 140, he'll vacate the titles. And here's what's really interesting. As soon as he moves up, whoever wins that belt or wins all the belts, or if they get the belts, they're going to be arguing the same thing we are. Who is the real champion at 135? Because I fought for a belt, I beat the guy, I have the title, but whoever fought for the franchise champion is still going to be the franchise champion. So it's going to be so confusing. They need to have clarity. They need to clear this thing up, because if they don't, like me, and I know a lot about boxing, if I can't answer these questions, I'm sure the casual fan will not be able to answer these questions. And the WBC needs to do better with explaining who's the real champion and who's not. Because it's important for the fans who follow boxing to support the real champion and know the difference. Because if you keep adding these belts, it's really conflating things and it's confusing. And a lot of people will be turned off. And the goal is to grow the sport of boxing, not push people away because they don't understand. This is your host, Boxing Sweet Science, trying to explain things for you. I hope I made it clear, and if I didn't, I tried. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. Join the podcast. If you like what I'm talking about on YouTube, swipe, subscribe, tell a friend, tell another friend. I love boxing. I love people that's enthused with boxing. So let's get together. Let's talk. Make sure you tell a friend to follow me. Thanks. I'm out.